There is a reason the testes sit outside the body. It is not an accident of design. Sperm cell production needs to run cooler than the rest of you, by a couple of degrees, and that difference is easier to lose than most people realize. Welcome to CellFresco. We believe something very simple. Every cell has a healing food. Today, the main signal is not a food at all. It is temperature. Now the story. Most internal organs operate close to core temperature. Sperm cell production is different. The testes sit outside the body cavity because spermatogenesis, the building of sperm cells, works best a few degrees below core temperature. The body defends that gap actively. Muscles raise and lower the testes depending on conditions. A network of blood vessels wrapped around the testicular artery cools incoming blood before it arrives. That is a considerable amount of biological engineering devoted to maintaining a couple of degrees. Sertoli cells run the production line, nursing every developing sperm cell through its journey. Research indicates that raised temperature interferes with that process, increasing oxidative stress and DNA fragmentation in developing sperm cells. And because sperm cells develop over many weeks, heat exposure today may not be fully reflected in a test immediately. Changes can emerge over the weeks that follow, while the full effect and recovery may take several months. Problem 1. Sustained heat exposure disrupts the production line. This is the clearest finding in the area. Research has associated regular sauna use, hot tub use, and occupational heat exposure with reduced sperm cell counts and reduced sperm cell motility. Studies of men in hot working environments, including drivers and men working near furnaces, have reported similar patterns. The reassuring part is that small human studies suggest many of these effects can be reversible once the exposure stops, though recovery may take months. To be clear about the limits, occasional sauna use is not established as a fertility problem. The findings concern regular, sustained exposure. The healing habit. Reduce sustained heat exposure. Not a food, a change in conditions aimed at the Sertoli cells running the production line. That means limiting regular hot tub and sauna sessions if you're actively trying to conceive and taking breaks from prolonged sitting where heat builds up. Your action. If you are trying to conceive, regular sustained heat exposure is something worth limiting for a few months rather than trying to optimize around. Problem 2. Laptops and prolonged sitting raise local temperature. This one is genuinely common and rarely mentioned. Studies measuring scrotal temperature have found meaningful increases with laptop use on the lap and with long periods of sitting, particularly for men who drive professionally. These studies measured temperature rather than fertility outcomes directly, so the effect of ordinary laptop use on actual fertility remains less certain. The mechanism itself is not mysterious. Heat accumulates, the cooling system cannot keep up, and Sertoli cells work in a warmer environment than they are built for. The healing habit. Break up sitting and keep laptops off the lap. Both reduce the local heat that Sertoli cells and developing sperm cells are working against. Your action. Use a desk or table rather than resting a laptop directly on your lap. If you have to work with it near your lap, shorten the exposure and avoid sitting with your legs tightly together for long periods. If you drive for a living, build in breaks. Problem 3. Heat raises oxidative stress and sperm cells are poorly defended against it. Here is where food genuinely enters the picture. Raised temperature increases oxidative stress in the testes. Sperm cells are unusually vulnerable to that kind of damage because they carry very little of the internal antioxidant machinery most cells rely on. So while removing the heat is the primary intervention, supporting the antioxidant environment those cells develop in is a reasonable secondary one. The healing food. Tomatoes. Tomatoes supply lycopene, a carotenoid found in human testicular tissue and studied for its antioxidant properties and possible effects on sperm cell quality. Being straight about the evidence. Several small trials of Lycopene supplementation have reported improvements in sperm cell parameters, but the trials are small. The results are not uniform, and they used concentrated supplements rather than tomatoes. Eating tomatoes is not the same intervention. Cooked tomatoes with a little fat do make lycopene considerably more absorbable than raw. This supports the environment. It does not offset ongoing heat exposure. Your action. Cook tomatoes several times a week with olive oil. The protocol: 2 habits, 1 food, 1 cooler production line. Reduce sustained heat, the primary intervention. Sertoli cells and developing sperm cells work best a few degrees below core temperature. Break up sitting, laptops off the Lycopene. Removes a common and easily missed source of local heat. Tomatoes may help support the antioxidant environment developing sperm cells mature in, which heat exposure puts under pressure. What to eliminate, or at least reduce? Regular hot tubs and saunas while trying to conceive. One of the most direct heat exposures on this list, and one that is straightforward to remove. Sertoli cells and developing sperm cells operate in a narrow temperature range. Laptops resting directly on the lap, measured to raise scrotal temperature and an entirely avoidable source of additional heat exposure. Unbroken hours of sitting. Prolonged sitting can raise scrotal temperature, reducing the temperature gap the testes normally maintain for Sertoli cells and developing sperm cells. Smoking. Worth repeating here. Smoking is consistently associated with increased oxidative damage in sperm cells, which compounds the same pressure heat creates. CellFresco bonus. 1 extracellular signal. Today the bonus is patience. Because sperm cells develop over many weeks, a semen test reflects more than what happened this week. Some effects can appear within weeks, while the full impact of a change may take an entire production cycle to become clear. Men often make a change, test after a few weeks, see little difference, and conclude it did not work. The production line has not finished a full cycle yet. If you're making changes, give it 2 to 3 months before drawing conclusions, and be aware that a single semen analysis has considerable natural variation between samples. The closing. Most of what we cover on this channel is about what to eat. This episode is mostly about what to remove. Sertoli cells run a production line that needs to sit a few degrees below the rest of you. The body works hard to maintain that gap. Sustained heat closes it. Tomatoes are not a solution to heat exposure. They support the antioxidant environment developing sperm cells mature in, while the actual fix is removing the heat. Fertility involves both partners, and persistent difficulty conceiving deserves proper medical assessment rather than adjusting one variable at a time on your own. But this is one input. It is common, it is straightforward to remove, and almost nobody mentions it. Food is a language. Every meal is a message. Every cell is listening. Every bite is a conversation with your cells. Every habit sends another cellular signal. Every day is another opportunity to change the conversation. Every cell has a healing food. If this episode told you something new, subscribe to CellFresco. Next time on CellFresco. Conception is not the finish line. Something has to accept it, and that window is measured in days. Keep healing. Keep thriving.